Before that, I just want to be able to introduce myself very quickly. My name is Miggy. I'm the managing partner at Huskee Digital. So I've been doing digital marketing for a few years now, and having workshops like this is always something that I look forward to. So we're actually going to make this webinar available on our YouTube channel. So if there's anything that you miss or if there's anything that's unclear, you'll be able to revert back to that by next week. But if you want to be able to record or take screenshots right now, you're free to do that as well. So feel free to take as many as you want. It would also be great if you support my road to influencership. So as you guys can see, I'm very near 100,000 followers, which is my goal. So I only need 99,000 more. I'm pretty sure if I do a few more of these videos, I should be, at the 100,000 followers really soon. So if you could, I'd really appreciate the support for my dreams to become a TikTok influencer. All right, so I want to be able to go over the flow of the webinar and just set expectations as to what you might learn or pick up this afternoon. Okay, so first, I'm going to be sharing with you usage statistics globally and here in the Philippines. So I was able to gather material from different sources to just give you an overview of how big the opportunity on TikTok is. Second is I'm going to share with you also why the platform is so popular. So I'm going to share with you some of the macro, big picture factors that that really convince me that TikTok is going to be a really important player in the marketing space. And then after that, I will share with you why I think it's going to be relevant, of course, moving forward. And then towards the end of this presentation, I'm going to share with you how your brand can get started today. And share with you some of the case studies that I really enjoyed going over, from some of the big brands that are already marketing on TikTok. Right, so just a warning, I can't turn you into a marketing pro after just 1 hour. I really wish I could, but as I tell many people, clients, participants alike, marketing really is a contact sport. So if you want to get better at Facebook or in this case, TikTok marketing, there's only really one way to do it. And that's to actually create content and to start marketing on the platform. Okay, so I want to just be able to give you an overview. I want to be able to give you an idea of what the platform looks like. And then after that, part of the responsibility is jumping in and doing what you guys do best. Okay, so the world of marketing really is a fast-paced environment, and I just want to be able to share that insights here could be less relevant in just a few months. Okay, so I wouldn't be so surprised if some of the things or some of the advice that I share here would not be as relevant, as more things come into the environment. Right. So my last piece of advice before we start is really to plan with the macro. So look at the big pictures, look at what's moving industries, look at the entire marketing environment. And then I want you guys to be able to act in the micro. Okay, so as you're going to learn, a lot of this means execution in the smaller levels or in the day-to-day. But when you plan, it's with the perspective of the big picture, the big movements that we're going to see and that we're going to be talking about in the next few minutes. All right, so I want to be able to share with you the story of TikTok and where they came from and how they came to be. So TikTok, if you're not very familiar yet, is a video sharing platform focused on social networking. Okay, and it's owned by a Chinese company called ByteDance. The platform is used to make a variety of short-form videos. So they already have multiple genres in place, from dance, comedy, education, cooking, fitness. And typically, videos have a duration from anywhere from 15 seconds to 3 minutes. Okay, so Douyin was launched by ByteDance in Beijing in September 2016, and it was originally under the name A.me. Okay, so Douyin is the Chinese counterpart of TikTok. That's how it started, but it was a different app entirely. Now, one of the best things that they ever did was they decided that it was time to move on to bigger markets. Okay, so after their resounding success initially, right? So the app was actually just developed in less than 200 days, and within a year, they already had more than 100 million users locally. Okay, so after that success, they saw the potential of the app, and they moved into the West by making one really important move, which is the acquisition of Musically. Okay, so if you're not familiar, they used to be a very popular app, and they actually had a lot of the key features that makes TikTok what it is today, right? So being able to record yourself over music and then have all of these tools. These are key features of the app. And because ByteDance acquired them, they were able to take a lot of these features and infuse it with their own. Thus, TikTok was born. Okay, so this to me is one of the more interesting parts of the discussion, and I just want to be able to show you just how big of a platform they are currently, and just how much more they can go in terms of growth and in terms of presence. Okay, so in 2020, there was an estimate of nearly $2 billion spent in ad revenue on TikTok alone. So just to give you a comparison, last year, Instagram spent nearly 14 billion. Sorry, they earned nearly 14 billion in ad revenue in the same time period. Okay, so if you're looking at just that, and you're looking at Instagram as a direct competitor of TikTok, you're going to see that there is still a lot of room in terms of potential ad revenue. And it is my expectations that more and more businesses will pour in money in ad spend on TikTok. Okay, there are over 1 billion users worldwide, and they were able to match that. They were able to match the number of users that Instagram currently has. Okay, so obviously it's in a shorter time period. Thus the thinking or the hypothesis that they will one day have more users than Instagram just because they were able to get to 1 billion faster than Instagram did. Okay, so right now in terms of current users for both platforms, it's almost even, but we all know that TikTok is the newer platform between the two. A third insight, they were the most downloaded app in the world in 2020, and Instagram trailed them at number 5. Now, this is obviously because Instagram has been longer and they don't have the same base of people, and then there are newer people that can get into TikTok. But again, this is a very impressive feat for an app that's barely 4 or 5 years old. They were the most downloaded in the world for both iOS and the Play Store, the Android store. Okay, some usage statistics for you. On average, they estimate that TikTok is opened by users at least on average 8 times a day. Okay, so if you're an avid TikTok user and you're opening it more than 8 times, you're pulling up this statistic. But generally, their engaged users open up the platform 8 times a day. Time spent per day is around 52 minutes. So that's almost a solid 1 hour every day being spent on the platform. Now, I won't be able to go into this later, but just to give you an idea. So here in the Philippines, it is estimated that a typical user spends about 4 hours on social media per day. Okay, so if we're looking at this, possibility, and then if this statistic holds true for here in the Philippines, users are spending almost 1/4 their social media time just on TikTok. Okay, so it's a very interesting statistic, and as we move along, we're probably going to get more information on usage here specifically in the Philippines. But globally, you can already expect that there's usage of about 50 minutes per day. And then lastly, and I think this is the most impressive part, 60% of total users are Gen Z. Okay, so if you don't know which which years that covers, if I'm not mistaken, that covers so Gen Z are people who were born from 1997 to 2015. Okay, so if you're born in that time period, you're considered Gen Z, and it's pretty crazy. So I'm a millennial, and I still remember when millennials were all the rage and everybody wanted to target millennials and the young people. But now it's a lot of the focus is going into Gen Z, and if you're a brand that wants to reach a younger audience or you want to be able to build rapport in a younger audience, TikTok makes a lot of sense just because a majority of the platform is in that demographic. Okay, so to us, TikTok is undeniably one of the hottest apps in the market now, and there's really no other way to go but up. Okay, so I was actually very hesitant for a while because I wanted to wait for what Instagram would do about it. Okay, so when I first heard about the platform, I first saw it. I thought that was pretty cool, but we were still fresh from the launching of Instagram stories, and we all know that Instagram took a lot of what made Snapchat very popular and integrated into their platform, and they took a lot of that thunder from Snapchat. So my expectation, at least, was they were going to respond the same way that they did and have a lot of these key features that TikTok had. But as of the moment, they don't have anything right now that to me can compete with TikTok. And TikTok has established such a dominance already that I find it very difficult to imagine Instagram being able to come up with something better in the same time period. So for TikTok, really, there's really no other way but up. Okay. One important mindset that I have and that I continue to carry, it's this concept where I follow the attention. Okay, so I like the idea that I have, as a marketer, I have to be platform agnostic. Okay, so I still don't generally understand why a lot of people would want to spend time on TikTok. I mean, I know it's fun, but at least for me on a personal level, it's not my cup of tea, right? It's not something that I would spend 1-2 hours on. But for some people, that's exactly what they do. They find enjoyment in that. They find, they find like this is the best use of their time currently, or this is where they're most entertained. And that's the only thing that matters. Okay, so that I think is a very important mindset to have, especially as a marketer, because if you're dedicated or you're committed to just one platform, you miss the point of that platform. So it's the same reason why I feel like many brands are falling behind, because they became so comfortable with TV, with radio, with mass medium, that when social media came, they found a hard time adjusting or moving on, because they put all of their efforts into these traditional platforms. Now in our current landscape, there will be more platforms to be in. There's no telling when, or there's no telling who, but that's just the natural cycle of innovation. Okay, we're going to have other platforms in the future, and when you're platform agnostic, your entire mindset revolves around just following the attention and being where your customers are, which at the end of the day, especially if you're targeting a younger market or you're targeting an up and coming tech savvy crowd, it's definitely TikTok. Okay, so I want to be able to share with you guys also why we think TikTok has found a lot of success, especially in a very short period of time. So number one, it's really because on a psychological level, it's all of the dopamine hits. Okay, so on TikTok, like we said, it's really just 15 to 30 minute. 15 to 3 minute, 15 seconds to 3 minute videos. So really short, bite-sized videos. And if you've been on the platform, it's very easy to use. So you just swipe up and down, and you're able to consume a piece of content right away. Okay, so this really triggers a lot of the chemicals in our brain that's linked also to addiction, and that's the reason why we get so hooked with it. That it's so easy to scroll and go by 20, 30 videos without you even realizing it, because it's so short, it's very entertaining, there's always something new, and you end up consuming quantities of content at a given time. Okay, so I think this is a very important characteristic, because this makes TikTok just a little bit more unique, right? So on Facebook, obviously, you can say the same thing. On Instagram and Twitter, you could say the same thing. But because of the format and the creativity that's on the platform in TikTok, I really think that this is a different kind of high that people get. And even me. So part of my project for myself the past month and a half was just really immersing myself on TikTok. So I've actually spent quite a number of my hours just browsing through content, reading comments, even creating my own. And I can tell you that even me as a practitioner, and I'm aware of these things, it does get addicting, and it's easy to get lost in browsing through the feed. So just the way that the platform is built makes it easy for you to consume tons of content. And the medium specifically, right, these short videos that are very creative, very witty, very entertaining to watch, it makes up for a very fun platform, right, if you're spending time on it. Okay, number two, it's a social signal. Okay, so all of these trends of shooting a TikTok video, the memes that you create, the dance challenges that you partake in, posting it on other social media platforms, it really gets you to want to try it at the very least, especially once you see other people or your relatives or your close friends start to do it. It creates that really interesting network effect, right? Where you see someone else do it, and then you see another person do it, and then before you know it, you're thinking to yourself, like, maybe I should do it. Okay, this is a very natural reaction, because again, as human beings, we're social creatures. We want to feel accepted. We want to feel like we're part of a group. And when our group or our circle, we see them doing TikTok videos and posting it on Instagram, subconsciously that tells us that this is something that we need to do also. Okay, so again, and you layer that with the fact that many of these challenges and trends are really fun to do. It's a great way to waste your time, and it's very energizing to do. I think just makes it very easy to share also. And on a side note, I thought that TikTok's ability to post and share in multiple platforms, I thought that was a really smart thing to do. Where, for example, you have a platform like Facebook, where for example, if you share a YouTube link, the video no longer pops up the way that it used to. It's just a photo, because they're encouraging you to post that video on Facebook instead, so that it's native to the platform. TikTok does not think like that, at least for now. They want you to share to other platforms, because again, they understand this network effect where you post your video easily and you share it with other people. People will see this as a signal, and they'll want to try it also. And I might not speak for everyone in this room, but I'm pretty sure a majority of you have either shot yourselves doing a TikTok dance challenge at least once, or at the very least, you've considered wanting to do it just because, again, you've seen a friend or a family member do it. So don't discount that effect. It's subconscious. You don't really realize it, or you don't think about it, but seeing our friends and family members dance consistently, it's a signal that tells us that this is something that we, at the very least, have to consider doing, because everyone else is doing it. Then lastly, and I think this is where TikTok has shown its real dominance, just the powerful UX UI of their video editing tools. This to me is the most impressive editing tool that I've seen on a social media platform. Instagram stories is great. I enjoy using Instagram stories a lot. But just in terms of what you could do, with the music, the filters, the creativity, nothing, at least for me, nothing currently tops TikTok. Now, you could say the same. Now, I'm only just referring to social media apps. If you're talking about apps, then obviously you have other editing and video creating tools. But those tools were made for video editing. On TikTok, it's a social media app first and then a video editing tool. So the fact that you combine those two things just makes it all the more impressive. And what I like most about this UI UX, just the ability to edit so much videos in different ways, it just allows for so much creativity. I've been browsing video after video the last 1-2 months, and sometimes I'm still caught off guard by how creative some creators are, and it's so inspiring, because on one end, I know in be working in a creative advertising field, I know that this is very challenging to do, and the fact that it's being done at scale by millions of users, I just really think is impressive. It's a melting pot for creativity, and you really can't say the same thing about other platforms. Yeah, so for me, this is my favorite part of TikTok, the fact that you can have it allows rather for tons of creativity to flow. And you, even if you're not very tech savvy, even if this is the first time that you're looking at it, they do it so well. It's so easy to use that the learning curve is not that deep, and in a few minutes you're able to create a video for yourself. Okay, so the last point that I want to make here before moving on is that people will always be people. The factors that I talked about social signals, about wanting to belong and wanting to connect, that's something that's true for many social media platforms. And this goes back again to our first point, where we must follow the attention, because where people will be, the same habits that they had for previous platforms, it will be there also. Okay, sometimes it's just in different shapes and sizes, but at the end of the day, it's people will always be people. And the reasons why people love social media is because, number one, it's entertainment, right? So we usually we usually browse through our social media when we're bored, or when we're waiting for someone, or we want to be able to engage with something, we want to be able to connect with something. We turn to social media. We used to be able to do that with magazines, with TV, with radio, but because social media is so accessible and everybody has a smartphone, it's easier to connect and it's easier to find entertainment. Okay, so just notice that, guys, like that has not changed, no matter which decade you're operating in. People who first got on TV and who were addicted to watching TV, that's the same feelings that are driving our need for social media and our need to be entertained. That has not changed. The mediums have changed, but our inclination and our want for that has not. Okay, second, it's status. Okay, so like I mentioned, we're social creatures. Part of this is showing to other people that we belong, or that we're better than we were yesterday, and that's important to us subconsciously. And social media, in any form, whether that's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, it's an opportunity for us to flex our status, or to show that we are leveling up in society. That's just how our brains operate. I constantly tell clients, and I constantly tell my team, that one of the biggest motivators of making a purchase for anyone is the promise of a status upgrade. That if we subconsciously feel that when we make this decision, we're going to be more respected by our peers, we're going to be more accepted by the people around us, we will do that. Okay, we will do that, and our behavior on social media reflects that. Okay, and that's why, to me, TikTok works, because this is just another way for us to be able to do that. And then lastly, it's just connection. Okay, so again, this just goes back to us being people. We want to connect with other people. We want to feel like we're heard. And with TikTok, right, with the dancing, with the creativity, this is just another way for us to express ourselves. And this is the reason why I truly enjoy the UX UI of the platform. It's just really because it allows us to express ourselves in ways that a tweet or a Facebook post can. We can add color, we can add music that we like, we can interpret a dance the way that we want to. It's crazy, and when you look at it in that context, all the more it makes a ton of sense why TikTok has taken off, because you have a platform and you have creatures that just want to be able to connect and express themselves, and you combine these two things and you have a social media platform. And it just so happens that TikTok does the creativity part and expression part better, at least to me, better than current platforms on the market at the moment. Okay, so let's go over some marketing in the Philippines, or how you can market in the Philippines. What you can do right now. Right. So in the Philippines, TikTok was actually also the #1 most downloaded app in 2020. I could really feel the difference in the sentiment about TikTok when the pandemic hit and we were all stuck at home. People turned to something where they could express themselves, where they could be creative, where they could have an outlet. And to many people, that was TikTok, especially for the younger users. Okay, so just like the worldwide trend, it was the #1 most downloaded app here. In terms of social media usage, it's still #6. Okay, so a bit surprising, but not really, especially when you find out what the top 5 is. So the top 5 in order is #1. It's YouTube. Actually, it's no longer Facebook here. So YouTube was the most used platform in the Philippines last year, and then it's Facebook. But that's a close one too. It's just by a few point percentages. #3 is Facebook Messenger, and then Instagram, and then Twitter. Okay, so that's the top 5 at the moment: YouTube, Facebook Messenger, and then Instagram, Twitter. Now, knowing what we know now and knowing the trajectory of TikTok, I really wouldn't be surprised if by next year, TikTok overtakes Twitter and Instagram. That is my fearless forecast that it's going to get into the top 5. I don't think it will be able to top Facebook Messenger just yet. That to me is the wall that's going to hit, just because Facebook Messenger is being used as it's the primary communication tool now for many people. But yeah, I fully expect it to be in the top 5, by the end of next year when I make an updated report on this. Okay, worldwide also, I don't know if you think that this is a good thing or a bad thing, but we actually have the 11th most users in the world. Okay, so we're not in the top 10 yet, which is a little surprising given given how creative and how addicted to social media the Philippines is. But again, just like our previous forecast, I really wouldn't be surprised that if we crack the top 10 after this year. Okay, so in terms of users, there aren't any official numbers being published around the Philippines yet. The range that I was given was anywhere from 28 to 34 million potential reach here in the Philippines, right? But just as a conservative measure, we can stick with 28 million users. So on TikTok here in the Philippines, it's 28 million. And this to me was really impressive because we only have 15 million users in Instagram in the Philippines. So TikTok has already almost doubled if you look at our conservative numbers, and it continues to grow. So there is still a wide open road for TikTok to just absolutely, go on a tear on, and we're only just beginning. And then last, and this is a trend that it shares with Instagram. there's actually a dominant female market in the platform. So we're talking over 60% of users are females or are registered females on the platform. This follows the same split as Instagram. It's also, if I'm not mistaken, it's a 65-35 split in favor of women on Instagram. And then on Facebook, just for your reference, it's almost a close 50-50. Okay, so again, if you're a brand and your audience are young females or young female users, TikTok makes a lot of sense just because very similar to Instagram, it's predominantly women on the platform. Okay, so I get asked by clients when we talk about TikTok. I get asked, where does it fit in the customer journey? Okay, so from acquisition to retention, where is TikTok best? And like any platform, it works best where you use it. Okay, so any other platform works in acquisition, retargeting, retention, and it always just depends on how it's utilized. Okay, so just to give you an example, in the acquisition stage where the goal is brand awareness, you can partner with content creators, 50, 70 of them, put your product out there, and now you have the awareness, the same way that you'd have awareness on Instagram or Facebook. When you want to start retargeting and closing sales, because of the ad manager that's made available already, you can retarget people who've engaged with you on the app or customers that you already have in your database. So the same mechanics as Facebook, right? You're able to do that also on TikTok at the moment. And then lastly, you're able to maintain or increase retention through the platform as well, right? So in some of the examples that I'm going to be giving you, brands really utilize users and the content that they create as a way to delight other users also, or give them a chance to show off that they are users of a certain brand. Okay, so to me, a platform is just a platform, and how you use it matters. Okay, so like and the same is true for any platform: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Google search ads. You can fit those platforms in any of these steps. Okay, and you'll find some degree of success depending on the effort, depending on your strategy. But like any of these social media platforms, TikTok works wherever your customers are in their journey towards meeting your brand and buying from you the first time. Okay, so just note again that each campaign has a different objective, and you just want to be mindful of that when you're assessing. Okay, so that's the general advice that we give our clients. Okay, so I think the question that I get typically, and it's the wrong question, is which platform is good. Okay, I think that's the wrong platform. That's the wrong question. A better question would be, where are our customers? Where are they browsing? How can we fit our message to the platform? These are better questions to ask. The platform is just a tool. You will find success depending on how you use the tool. And like I said, TikTok works for any part of the campaign, whether that's the first time that they're hearing about you, or trying to get them to buy from you again. Okay, so just very quickly, I want to go over some of the media buying models that you can currently do on TikTok right now. Okay, so very similar to Facebook Ads Manager, there are many ways to start your paid advertising efforts, and probably we'll go through this in depth for another webinar. But just to give you an idea of what's already available, I'll share them with you. Okay, so very quickly, a media buying model is how ad platforms charge you. Okay, so that's how Google, how Facebook, how they make money. They charge advertisers for actions or results on the platform. Okay, so TikTok very conveniently follows many of the same buying models available on Facebook. So if you're a media buyer and you've had extensive experience on Facebook, you won't have a hard time moving into TikTok. Okay, so you also have CPM, so that's cost per 1,000 impressions. This is one of the most popular buying models, and it's something that is retained on TikTok. Okay, so if you're not familiar with impressions, you pay for how many times an ad was seen. Okay, so more impressions typically means your ad is more relevant because Facebook or your social media platform is showing it more. Okay, so this is why it's a very important metric that is tracked because the more eyeballs, typically the better. They also have cost per view. So this is the main buying model for video views, made very popular by YouTube, something that Facebook does really well now. And obviously, because TikTok is a video platform, they will obviously have cost per view as well. Now, for Facebook, it's typically 3 seconds or 15 seconds. That's what you call it, a through play. For YouTube, it's typically 6 seconds. Oh, so it's a 6-second view. For TikTok, it's currently not clear how that counts. But I'm assuming it follows a very similar format to Facebook, where it is most likely a 3-second view. But I could be wrong about that. I will have to double check. But that's one of the models that they have. And if I'm not mistaken, they pattern this more closely to Facebook, where they register a view at 3 seconds at the very least. Okay, the next one is cost per acquisition. So this is the primary buying model for an e-commerce business. So for example, for Huskee, we do consult and manage a few e-commerce brands, and a lot of our KPIs revolve around how much we're spending to acquire a new customer, or how much we're spending to get a customer to buy from us, which is a very important metric. So to give you an idea, if we're spending 50 pesos, for example, per new customer, and their average cart size is 1,000 pesos, that's a great, that's a great payday for us. Because that means we're only paying 50 pesos for one person or a purchase on our platform. Okay, so yeah, you pay for how many conversions you were able to generate online. Now, if this is a little confusing for you, again, we do have content around media buying models. It's available on our YouTube and website. But for TikTok specifically, we definitely want to run a webinar just to discuss this. Okay, just to discuss this. So you can watch out for that really soon. Now, if you're curious as to how you can get targeted, okay, so on Facebook, to me, Facebook is still the most robust targeting platform available in the market. I don't think anything comes quite as close to them, but I feel like TikTok is going to be very competitive in this space. So just so that you're aware how you can target users, or which kinds of psychographics you're able to target. So first is interest-based targeting, based primarily on TikTok's TikTok users' activity. Okay, so this is typically the pages that they follow, content that they engage with, etc. Users are filtered or are tagged based on categories. So there are major categories of topics. So for example, you could have parenthood, you could have sports, fashion, beauty, depending on the kinds of content that they typically engage or follow on TikTok. So TikTok has a really nice algorithm that categorizes people. Okay, the second targeting option is viewing behavior. Okay, so also based on categories, but you can target people based on the kinds of, based on their likelihood or their video watching behavior. So for example, I can target people who typically watch 100% of a fitness video, but don't finish, for example, marketing videos, if that's a combination that you're looking for. Okay, so yeah, you can target people who partially watch a video in a certain category, or all the way up to finishing the video entirely. So if that's an important targeting measure for you, you could do that. And then lastly, engagement behavior. So you could also target users based on how they interact with creators. So if they're the kinds of user that typically follows a creator or typically comments on a creator, you could do that. So just to me, this probably might be my least favorite targeting option, just because at least to me it doesn't make a ton of sense. But if it's important to your brand that you only target, for example, people who follow back, then this is definitely a targeting option for you. But to me, the first two are very impressive enough. They give me a great idea already of the interests that my user base typically follows, and that works for me already. Now I do have a wish list. I've already discussed this with our account manager on TikTok, but I wanted to just go over what I thought that they should add in the targeting options for the next year or two. So the first one is I really want to be able to target more typical consumer behavior. So for example, spending preferences, online shopping habits, or if they're frequent travelers. So currently not something that TikTok can do for you in a very robust way, the same way that Facebook does. But I think it will definitely get there because again, as a marketer, that's really important. That's an important option for me to have. So for example, if you're not aware, on Facebook, you can target people who typically or who've expressed interest in high value goods. Now that tells me that they're probably or most likely in the class A or B1 segment if they do value more high value goods. And if I have a client that wants to target them, it makes it easier. Okay? Or for example, if they're frequent online shoppers, so if they've bought from or they buy from Lazada before, or they interact with a lot of Shopee ads, it would be nice to target this. And I've actually found this to be quite important because, surprisingly, even through this pandemic, there is still a base of users that prefer to go to the store. They prefer to see the items. This should change fairly soon, but it's still a reality that we do still have some customers, or depending on the business, they will either be very heavy online shoppers, or they will still be a mix, right? Or they still prefer to go to the store. And then lastly, travelers. So actually, just on a personal level, I think travelers is one of the most interesting profiles to target because you can make assumptions just on their traveling habits, and that's usually good for brands that, for example, they want to target adventure seekers or people that aren't afraid to take risks. So those are very important also, and I hope that TikTok provides that very soon. Okay, time spent on the website or the TikTok app, I'm hoping that they're able to do that. So just like Facebook, you can track TikTok can track website activity, and hopefully soon enough they'll be able to do that also, because again, that's a really important indicator of interest if they spend a ton of time on my website or on the TikTok app. Okay, and then lastly, other indicators of activity. So I tried to think of what could make TikTok a little bit more unique. So I thought that might be interesting to target people who are avid creators, so people who post every day or people who create content every day. That to me is a very interesting customer profile as well. Or people who are just lurkers, so they don't post a lot of videos. In my very short journey as a TikTok influencer so far, again, follow me. I do have 1,000 followers. I do notice that there tends to be users are either very avid creators, so they create tons of content, or they're just lurkers where they just watch or they comment from time to time, but that's pretty much it. And that to me, I think that makes TikTok a little unique, and would be nice to have that option if I'm trying to reach out to them as a marketer. Okay, so if this is a little overwhelming, know that I understand. I understand where you're at. Even for me, like I've been doing this for quite some time now. Even I get a little overwhelmed with all of the options and all of the things that I'm able to do. So that's fine. That's just part of the job. And know that again, TikTok is really new, and if you just want to get good at it, if you want to be familiar with it, the best way really to learn is just to do it. Okay, so that's why for me, once Huskee started getting serious about TikTok, I took it upon myself to immerse myself into the platform, create content, engage, learn, because that's the only way that I'm going to get better at it. Okay, so it's okay to feel overwhelmed now, but the advice really is just get familiar with it, and there's no better way to do that than to actually just use the platform. Okay, so I want to show you as a brand or a business what placements that you can choose from on TikTok in terms of the kinds of ads that you can run. And right now there are really just two main ways. Okay, so the first one is paid placements. Okay, so just to give you an idea, this BPI ad, it's running without a page. Okay, so they currently don't have a TikTok page. And that I thought was really, really cool. Okay, so if you have, for example, if you want to advertise on Facebook or Instagram, you need a page. Okay, it doesn't have to be active. You don't have to use it every day, but you need one. On TikTok, that's not the case. Okay, so you don't even have to have a page to start advertising on a platform. And that to me was, I think, a very, initially I thought it was a risky move, but to me, I think it has a lot of potential because you lower the barriers of entry for a brand to advertise on your platform, which is, always welcome. Okay, so if your brand does not have a TikTok page, that's fine. You can target, you can advertise the same way that other brands can advertise also. Okay, so you could do paid placement. So just to give you an example, if you had engaged with that BPI ad, it would have led you to their Google Play or their App Store, and you could have downloaded their app. Okay, so you didn't have to go through their page anymore. Okay, the second way is organic content. So many brands that are active on TikTok, this is the route that they take. So they will have a page, like the example that I'm showing you now from Sunny's, and then you can use current posts that are on the page or on your newsfeed and use that as an ad instead. So this is a very strategic thing. Now, at least the working advice that I'm giving right now is that if you're going to be on TikTok, would be great to start creating content and then use content that's on your feed, right? So people can always go back to it. People can, take a look at it if they're first there. But if not, you could take that first approach that I talked about, where just create something for the platform and then use it as an ad. All right, so we're nearing the end of the talk, and I just want to be able to show you some of the ways that you can get started in the coming quarter, or at the very least next year. Okay, so I dug up some case studies from some of the brands and influencers that I've been following ever since I started getting into TikTok the last few months, and I just wanted to share with you. Okay. So the first one is using paid placement. So like I mentioned, you don't have to maintain a presence. You could advertise without committing to the content grind. Now, what I have found to be true for TikTok so far is that it is such a potent platform for organic reach that you definitely are going to have to play the quantity game and post tons of content. Now, for some brands, that's no problem. They have the resources to hire an agency or to outsource it. But if you're still hesitant about investing, if it's not something that you see yourself doing fully yet, you can use paid placements, right? So just to give you an example, this is an ad from Instagram. Very ironic. They're advertising on TikTok. They don't maintain a TikTok page, but they're using the platform to advertise. And this is what it looks like. Okay, so that was the Instagram ad. And just to give you another example, okay, so both those ads you won't be able to find on a page because both BPI and Spotify, at least currently as of this talk, they don't maintain a page on TikTok just yet. But that hasn't stopped them from advertising, and that to me should be one of the easiest things that you guys could do. You don't need to commit to the daily content thing. Would be nice though if you do that eventually, but at the beginning you don't have to. But you can already utilize the platform to advertise. Okay, so that's great for many brands. That's the perfect compromise. Okay, second thing, and this to me is the most entertaining one. You can host challenges. Okay, so to me, user-generated content is one of the best kinds of content out there. One of the things that I like about the current era of marketing now is that brands can get away with raw videos. We like us as a user base, we've accepted that we will like the highly produced videos the same way that we will like the raw vlogger style videos. And that's a great place to be in. It makes the work of marketers very easy. And again, it just makes content accessible because you don't need a highly produced, well-funded video to make an impact. Okay. And if you're able specifically to tap your users to create that content, I think that's one of the best things that you could do. So here's an example from a very popular media channel. Okay, and they hosted a really interesting challenge. You'll see it here.
24 Oras Challenge. Kaya mo bang maging 24 Oras reporter? Do it this challenge ng magkaalaman na.
Narito na mga balitang dapat abangan sa 24 Oras. Ngayong unang araw ng panibagong school year, kamusta kaya?
Yeah, so that goes on for more than a minute, but you guys get the idea. They launched this challenge, I think, a week ago or a week and a half ago, and there are tons of people already doing it, and it's a nice way to get interacted with a brand. And you'd think that just 3 years ago, you'd think that how difficult is it to engage with a news brand or a media brand? How do you get users to create more content about that other than sharing posts? And with a platform like TikTok and the initiative of the team, you're able to do just that, right? So kudos to whoever thought of this challenge in the team. I thought this is one of the most unique things that I've seen on the platform so far. Here's another example, this time from one of our favorite local restaurants.
First press the hashtag. Don't forget the hashtag. Then 87,000. Hashtag 87,000 Jollibee delivery. First press the hashtag.
Okay, so again, sorry that video goes on for longer than I think a minute or two. But basically, it's Jollibee teaching that hashtag Jollibee dance and getting people to actually do it. And unsurprisingly, millions of people did it, and it's one of the more successful dance challenges on the platform now. Yeah, so if you're a big brand, then this is something that you could definitely leverage because you do have that name recall, and people really want to be able to do some of these challenges also. But if you're a smaller brand or a brand that is not well known yet, this might be a little difficult to pull off, but not impossible. Okay, I truly believe that for any business to succeed, you're really going to have a core base of loyal users, right? So that has to be the priority. And when you get to that point, it makes it easy, right, to ask for these things. Now, you might not have the same reception as Jollibee, but just getting people to interact with your brand like that to me is one of the most impressive things that you could do. So whether you're a big brand or a small brand, it doesn't matter. Hosting something unique like this is always very welcome. Oh, sorry.
Mga amiga, nako, I have some Avon ClickTalk hacks if you want to improve how you're managing your Avon business. Tara, Avon Click na! Alam mo ba na when you use Avon Easy, you can place and track your orders at magbayad in just a few taps. At ang pinakabongga, real-time ang update.
Okay, so if you don't know who this is Makoy Dubs, one of the funniest people that you'll find on social media. Very active already on TikTok and has worked already with tons of brands. So the next thing that you could do here is you could work with creators So established ones, up and coming ones, or an army of micro creators or micro influencers. Because TikTok is such a potent platform for organic content, quantity really is the game. Quantity is the game. And if you can get as many people to create content with you as much as possible, I think that's great. Now, before I show the next example, I wanted to be able to point out that Instagram brought about, the rise of all of these new influencers, right? We only, like, the notion of an influencer for us before used to be just like celebrities, basically, right? People that we see on TV and movies all the time. And then comes a platform like Instagram, where you have all of these very talented or good-looking people create massive followings and give rise to the new kind of celebrity, the social media star. And when when Instagram and YouTube happened, I didn't think that there would be another one that would come about, but I was wrong. This is something that I should have seen coming, but I didn't really give thought. And TikTok has just threw countless of people into stardom again. And if you're on the platform, like, it won't be long before you start seeing a ton of all of these verified accounts of people who, they didn't have a following on Facebook, they didn't have a following on Instagram, but because they were in TikTok early and they created content that people like, now they're TikTok stars. Okay, so just to give you an example.
At kung may tanong ka pa tungkol sa iyong menstrual health na natatakot kang sabihin, i-type mo lang yan sa comments. Sasagutin natin yan. Don't hold back, okay? Ingat!
Okay, so you have content creators like Crizzy Luna, who's a doctor. So just on a side note, people on TikTok love doctors. I see a lot of this content being shared and passed around. So if you're a doctor, good news for you. You have a chance to become a social media star if you want to change professions. But yeah, there are countless of influencers like Crizzy who built their following, built their presence on TikTok, and now brands are working with them. And this is a very interesting trend where the decision usually now is, you have a marketing budget. Do you put your budget behind one star or dozens of micro influencers that across different ranges of followers, right? So there's no right answer there. It's a strategy thing. It's a timing thing. There are benefits of doing both, or either or. But yeah, like, now you have that option. Now you have that in your back pocket as a business or as a brand, where before it was so, like, marketing or getting an A-lister to market your brand was only reserved for people or brands with the biggest of budgets. But with the rise of micro influencers, with content creators like Crazy, or that have decent followings, or up and coming stars like her, now you stand a chance. Now it's a little more democratized, and that's what I like about this platform also. I'm all for platforms that allow the smaller guys to market, and the same is true for Facebook. The same is true for Instagram, and I know that the same thing will be true for TikTok. That regardless of your business size, if you work with the right creators and you're savvy with how you deal with them, you can benefit from it also. And to me, having this on or working through TikTok, I think is one of the best things that you could do.
Foldable tabo, tsaka balde. Weh, ganito lang yan, di ba? Oh, shucks, meron nga. Pati yung tabo.
Okay, so the last thing, or the last advice that I would give you is really just to invest today. This is obviously just a professional opinion, but to us at Huskee, like to me personally, I truly believe that 2022 is going to be the year of TikTok. And now I can already see the hesitation, and I can already imagine the conversations that I'm going to have with clients or prospects. They're going to be thinking, that's just a fad. This might not last. We don't want to get into this. We're too busy. We're involved in too many things. They said the same thing about Instagram. They said the same thing about YouTube. They said the same thing about Facebook and Google search ads. It's always just a recurring conversation. And the point that I just want to make here is we can't fight this. This to me is inevitable. The growth that it's at, the pace that it's moving in, and the more brands move into this, we're going to get to a point where TikTok might be a minimum requirement. The same way that you can make the argument now that almost all, if not all, businesses need to be on Facebook. Right? You can make the argument now that many businesses need to be on Instagram or YouTube. I think it's the same thing is going to be true for TikTok. And it pays to move into it now. It pays to move into it now. Many brands, especially the newer ones that have done tremendously on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, they're the ones who were there first. And they were the ones who, built from the ground up and learned their way and made the mistakes that they need to make to become successful. And the reason why, we're kicking off webinars like this, we're already starting to talk to all of these different brands and upselling to some of our clients, is just because we've already accepted that, yes, this is an inevitable reality, that we're going to be moving into this space, whether that's going to be next year or the year after. But to me, if you can do it today, do it today. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to do it consistently yet. It doesn't have to be, 3 videos a day just yet, but just start. Get that first video out, get that second video out, and before you know it, you would have learned more about the platform than your competitors or other people who, did not take that leap. Okay, so here's another example.
How to reuse your colorette bubble mailers.
Yeah, so you see especially a lot of these younger brands move into this space, and I wouldn't be surprised if one day, they create enough attention that, bigger brands start to take notice, because these brands are following where the attention is. And to us, and I shared the metrics with you, I shared some of these factors. I hope you take a good look at this and you make a similar decision, or you assess, if this is the time that you start investing, or at the very least start learning about it. Because to us and to me personally, I think this is inevitable. We're going to get to a point where many brands will have to have a TikTok account, because that's where most of their users are. The same way that many brands have to have a Facebook account or an Instagram account, because that's where their users are. It's going to be the same thing is going to be true for TikTok really soon. And if you don't, at the very least, take a look at it, right? I feel like you're going to be missing out on an opportunity to get ahead. Lastly, before we move on to Q&A, I just want you guys to consider this and really think about it. You have to go where the world is going. It's crazy that it had to take a pandemic for people to realize that, or for businesses rather to realize that digital is the way, that online is the way. It had to take that a pandemic, but we were already headed there. It didn't, that change didn't happen overnight. It was years into the making, and it just needed a catalyst for that to be something that is universally accepted by many brands, that digital is important. And when you look at these social media platforms, I implore you guys to be platform agnostic, because that's the right mindset to have. It shouldn't matter if it's TV, if it's magazines, if it's Tumblr or Friendster or Facebook or YouTube. Where the attention is where you should go, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to connect with your customers and create content for them, being where they spend their time in. And again, I just on a very personal level, I'm truly bullish about this platform. I really think it's going to take off. And I know, because you're in this talk, I know you feel the same way also. I know that there is a feeling, or there is a there is that hunch that you have that maybe this is it. And hopefully I've said something that will inspire you to take a closer look at this.